Hello and welcome. My name is Richard, and you're listening to
Hurry! The movie is starting podcast.
Welcome. So, today I am here with
Zack.
and we are going to be pre-gaming the movie Fantastic Four: The First Steps. So, Fantastic Four: The First Steps is Phase 6 of the MCU. It comes out with a PG-13 rating. It also comes out with a 1 hour and 55-minute runtime, almost 2 hours, a little short of that. And stay after the credits because it is MCU, so you know there are going to be 2 post-credit scenes after this one. But anyways, that's just what we're pre-gaming today. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. So this will be before the other release, but stay tuned because we have a new segment. We just finished recording, so that segment I've been hyping up for a while is finally coming out. Zach and I were able to talk about his favorite 5-star movie, which was, don't worry about it, you got to go listen to the podcast to try and find out what that was. Go ahead and check out that after this is posted. That should be out probably by this upcoming Thursday. 5-star segment. It's going to be a little cool segment that gets us away from previewing new movies and talks about old movies, which we love some old movies.
Exactly.
But today we are going to be talking about the hype that is the Fantastic Four. So before we jump into this pregame, let me get a little context from you. What does Fantastic Four mean to you?
I liked it since I was a kid. You know, I just rewatched all of them. I watched the first 2 and then the terrible the terrible remake.
The Fan-Four-tastic.
Exactly. But I liked it. I like those 2 movies. I've read some of the comics. I like the comics. I just really hope they don't mess this movie up.
Yeah.
Because with Superman being out and Superman doing as good as it did, Marvel now has competition. They never had competition for the past 17 years they've been making movies. Now they do.
Right. And I as a DC fan am here for all of that competition because going into a conversation, even at work, asking people like, oh, are you going to watch Superman? A lot of people said no because they prefer Marvel. And understandably, yes, I completely understand that. DC's movies have been very not so great lately. However, you always hear, oh, but their animated movies are really good. But coming into Superman, we're going to do a quick spoiler-free review of Superman. Coming into Superman, you know James Gunn's in charge. You know he has people that he's comfortable with. You know how he does things. Have you seen the Suicide Squad?
Which one?
The second one?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so that was James Gunn's first directorial debut into the DCU, which I love that movie. I absolutely loved it. I thought it brought in that happiness of Marvel, but also had the darkness of DC in it, which you can't even necessarily say that anymore as Marvel is getting, after Thunderbolts, they're getting a lot more deeper into emotional trauma and just the psychological trauma that we may have in our life. So Marvel is getting a little more dark. And I saw the funny comparison that had the outline of Thunderbolts saying like dark movie about very serious mental health issues and all these things. And then DC's Superman said like very funny, very light, very like playful. And it's like, we switch the genres of DC and Marvel, but honestly, I don't see it as that. I think they're just kind of adapting more. Thunderbolt's a great movie. Superman, a great movie. What is your spoiler-free review of Superman?
Loved it. The music was amazing in it.
Oh.
Acting, amazing in it.
Right. Yeah.
The person that played, or David Cornsweet, Superman, good.
He did a good job.
What's that dude's name that played Lex?
Lex Luthor. Not Jesse Eisenberg. I'm thinking of old. Man, he played the Beast on
Yes, X-Men. He was also in Nosferatu, one of my favorite movies as
Nicholas
well.
Hoult. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was perfect for Lex Luthor. Funny, but also that very serious like tone in it.
Right.
What's her name? Lois Lane. She's
Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah, she's usually annoying. Like Lois Lane in the other Superman movie, she was kind of annoying to me.
Yeah.
But this one is, she's chill. She knows what she has to get done.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think directed amazing.
Yep. And she even, this is not necessarily a spoiler, but Lois Lane, I agree with you. She always is that like damsel in distress kind of character where she always appears to need to be saved or like given not necessarily attention, but like extra attention from Superman. In this movie, there's like there's times where she not necessarily fights back with Superman, but she asks him some very, very tough interview questions and it gets him emotional. And just seeing like these new sides of Superman that we hadn't really seen in a movie, I absolutely loved. And David Cornsweet, this is the first time I know he's been on like TV shows and stuff like that. This is the first time I've seen him in an actual like movie. I thought he did a great job.
The first I saw him was Twisters.
Twisters. Oh, see,
He played the antagonist in Twisters.
Oh,
really good.
okay. So he's a good one?
I would say it's as good as the first Twister movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I gotta watch that one. That was the movie that was on my like list, but I didn't end up going
really
to
good.
watch it. Yeah, so we got David Cornsweet at the helm. Nicholas Hoult, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But going into it, like when, for instance, I'm going to use Robert Pattinson being labeled as, oh, he's going to be Batman. On paper, you go into it thinking like, okay, I don't know if that's going to work. And with Nicholas Hoult, like he comes from, his acting range is very eclectic. He comes from like different things. Like he did The Menu, which is kind of like a suspense horror. And he's also done like X-Men movies. He's also done like Warm Bodies. So he has a bit of Nosferatu. Yeah, that was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
So he has so much range, and even in this movie, like I didn't think he was going to do it good at first, but there's some scenes where like Superman is face to face with him, and you're just wondering like, oh man, Superman can like tap him with his finger and his whole body would explode, like similar to Invincible. But Nicholas Hoult just stands like chest to chest with him, like he's unbothered. He's safe because even if he gets killed in that moment, he wins because his job is trying to pull, and that's not a spoiler. That's just Lex Luthor. Yeah, that's Lex Luthor.
That's just comics,
right? So I thought they did a great job on that. So what would you rate it from 1 to 10?
Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gave it a 4 out of 5, and usually when I give a movie a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, I'd 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay.
7, 8 out of 10,
right.
Depending. I do think it was really good.
Yeah.
I think it's what the DC needed. Obviously, James Gunn.
Yeah.
Amazing director. Suicide Squad, like you said, that was a good movie. Mm-hmm. I would give that one a 3 out of 10 or a 3 out of 5. Okay. And then give Superman 4 out of 5. The humor was great. Mm-hmm. How they portrayed him was great. They didn't make him too serious.
Right.
Because he isn't serious like that in the comics.
Yeah.
But Man of Steel, jeez,
different tone.
Couldn't crack a smile on him.
Right. Very, very different tone set of movies.
Yes.
And it's funny to see because I've heard like reviews of Superman saying like finally a happy, like not happy-go-lucky, but a more brighter themed Superman movie as opposed to the very dark and depths. Because dark and depth works for Batman. I don't know if like a light and funny Batman movie would necessarily do a good job. But
that's like having a dark Superman.
Right.
It'll be the exact same vibe. It's not right.
Right.
It's weird.
Yep, that's going to be the spoiler-free review on Superman. So you haven't seen it. I think it's worth a watch. It's definitely worth a watch in theaters. I watched it in XD, which, not regretting that decision. The price range when you buy these movies. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be worth it, but 100% worth it. Also, again, I said it in the pregame for the Superman movie. Stay after the credits. There are going to be 2 post-credit scenes, which not typically common for DC, but James Gunn's like, I got this. Hold my beer. But let's get back to Fantastic Four: The First Steps. We're officially over with Marvel Phase 5 as Fantastic Four sets up Phase 6. What did you personally think about Phase 5?
I loved and hated it. Loved James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Deadpool and Wolverine. It wasn't as good as the original Deadpool, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can hate on me, but
I understand it though, because a lot of the good parts of that movie are nostalgia hits. Yeah. Like there are some good moments in that movie, and there are a lot of scenes that like bring you back to like, oh hey, X-Men and all these things. But I didn't love, especially the fact that they killed Cassandra Nova, which I loved in that movie. I thought she was a great villain. I was excited to potentially see her more. The actress did a fantastic job. She did a great job of being she did a great job of just being like herself. And even there was one moment where like a guy was freaked out that she was like putting her hands inside people's minds, and then she like was self-conscious about that for a second. So I thought she did a fantastic job, and unfortunately she didn't make it past this movie. But continue.
No, you're good.
Phase 5.
I agree with that though.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say the last movie that I actually fairly enjoyed, well, I enjoyed quite a bit, was Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Gave that a 4.5 stars. 4.5. That's what it earned. It really is. Florence Pugh as White Widow, amazing.
Right.
What's his name? The dude from Stranger Things.
David Harbour.
Yeah, as the dad, funny. He brought comedy to that movie, a movie that is actually really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Louis Pullman, Void. bro.
Yeah, they was a
Invincible on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I mean, I didn't Ghost. She didn't last that long, but she was cool when I saw her. And then dang, what's his name?
No, wait. Ghost did Taskmaster was the one.
Taskmaster. I meant, yeah.
Which,
Ghost. She's pretty cool too, though. She can just phase through walls, and
right.
that's a cool power. And then what's
John Walker.
John Walker.
Mm-hmm.
I like him.
Yeah.
I hated him after Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
Hated him after that.
Yeah, in this movie,
Or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. My bad.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
And this, I will say that. Did you know that's Kurt Russell's son, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, another kid just following in his parents' footsteps in Hollywood. But I agree with you. Like after Captain and the Winter Soldier, or not? Sorry, I did it too.
Yeah.
After the Captain and Falcon TV show, I did not like his character. I thought he was dumb. I thought
stupid.
Yeah. I thought, okay, we're clearly going to come back to this character after Elaine comes and talks to him afterwards, but. This is a spoiler alert for if you haven't seen Thunderbolts. This is kind of a kind of redemption arc for his character.
Yes.
And I thought he not necessarily became one of my favorite characters, but he definitely climbed the list of
least hated characters.
Right, least hated. That's a good one. Yeah, least hated characters. All right, so that is Phase 5. I agree with you. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was probably, if not Loki Season 2 finale, because that was also Phase 5. But Guardians,
that.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen the finale.
Oh, it's so good. But Guardians of the Galaxy for me is the top one. Deadpool Wolverine, again, it had a lot of good nostalgia factors, but overall, I thought it was less impressive than a lot of people gave it credit for, even though seeing Hugh Jackman again as Wolverine was always going to get us happy.
Yeah.
And then Thunderbolts was the absolute surprise for me. I was not expecting much going into these movies because I had the same mindset going into Guardians. I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know if this is going to be that good, but it turned out to be very good.
Exactly. Agreed.
And like you said, every character has their role. Unfortunately, I was a little disappointed that Taskmaster died because I am a huge Taskmaster fan after getting to know her or the character more from the comics because of Black Widow, and seeing how vastly underutilized she was in that movie. I was like, all right, they're going to bring her back in Thunderbolts. She's going to get a redemption arc. This is not going to be Captain Phasma of the MCU. It is 100% Captain Phasma of the MCU. She I think less than 30 minutes into the film. And you kind of...
She was only on screen for 3 minutes?
Yeah, you kind of looking over at her body like, okay, she's getting up, right? She's getting up, right? No, she is 100%.
She got shot in the face.
Yeah, you're not coming back from that. But that is going to be just the intro into this pregame. This is going to be a different one. Zack's going to be with me for the start of this one, but I'm going to finish off with y'all. So just going to hop into this real quick. The director of the Fantastic Four is Matt Shakman, who you may know from WandaVision. He's also done a couple of Game of Thrones episodes. He's also worked on The Boys. He's also worked on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's also worked on Succession. So these are shows which you might put WandaVision at the lowest tier of all those TV shows because they're very popular shows. But seeing how he has had success in TV, would it be crazy to imagine that he can have success with a live MCU movie?
I don't think that would be crazy.
He clearly has a resume that stuff he's been directing has been very popular. And it's weird to see him that he's done It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because I've watched every episode of that show. So now I got to go back and see which episodes he's directed. But he's the director of this movie. He's followed by the writers Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, and Kat Wood. Now, this is a random question that I thought of today because usually you see these movies and they typically have one or two writers. This movie has a lot of writers.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people working at it at different times. Do you think that do you think that's a positive or a negative thing?
I feel like it can be both, and it all depends on communication,
right?
And how knowledgeable they are of the comics of Fantastic Four, and how much they communicated with one another. Hey, I'm gonna write this. This is totally Johnny Storm. He would definitely say this, right? Or it's definitely the Thing. The Thing would definitely say this.
Right.
This movie needs to impress the fans, the true comic fans, more than anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if it's a bunch of people that know what they need to get done, I think it'll be a positive.
Right. And I the way I first thought about it was oh, Christopher Nolan only needs 1 or 2 writers on his movie, and that to me that makes it seem like it's easier to connect the full story, like full circle.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's the other side of it. When you have like a full group of people, you're going to come up with ideas that you would have probably never come up with by yourself. Yep. So you do have those different perspectives to bounce off of. So I agree with you that it has those certain aspects. And since you are leaving a little early, we are going to do things a little bit differently. Normally, I would jump into the cast and then plot of this movie, but because we're kind of scarce on time, I'm just going to jump into hype me up on this movie because I know you're hyped about this. First off, do you have your ticket already?
I do, yes.
Yeah. How long ago did you get your ticket?
I got it a month ago.
A month ago. So
right when the day tickets dropped, I got it.
Okay, so you rope dropped getting a ticket for Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And are you watching it in IMAX or regular?
I'm watching it in Dolby, which is basically IMAX.
Okay, hey, so you're seeing it the high definition.
Yes.
Okay, so clearly you were very hyped for this movie. Why are you hyped about this movie?
I love the Fantastic Four. I got hyped up after watching the other two, not the third one, but the other two.
Yeah.
I like Johnny Storm as a character. I find him hilarious. Susan Storm, played by Jessica Alba, grew up in love with her. Right.
Yeah.
I like Vanessa Kirby, I believe her name is, as Sue Storm. Love her.
And she's the only one that actually is naturally blonde. All the other characters had to dye their hair, and I think Jessica Alba got a rash from like the bleach or something.
But I mean, I'm excited for that. I like Julia Gardner. I talked to you about this. Her in Ozark, she was amazing in Ozark. The dude that plays Galactus, his voice,
Ralph Ineson,
is like creepy a little bit. Yeah. Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. A lot of people didn't like that choice. I don't see a problem with it as long as he stays true to the character of Mr. Fantastic.
Right.
And I do like how so the Thing in the comics is Jewish. So they chose a Jewish actor. I do like that. They didn't do that with Moon Knight. Moon Knight is Jewish. But they chose Oscar Isaac.
Right.
I like it how they're trying to stay close enough to the comics while shying away just a little bit, to give it its own movie representation.
Right. And I honestly, that's hilarious that you say that that Eben Moss Backrack is Jewish, because I literally found that fact out last night, and it was just one of those things I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. First off, that this is the first time the Thing, a Jewish character, is actually played by a Jewish person.
Yep.
And speaking about being put into a role where it's the actual character is, I think people were kind of upset about Pedro Pascal being Mr. Fantastic, because in the comics he's a white character, but Pedro Pascal, as you know, is Chilean descent. But honestly, his range is so good, and he's obviously like one of the most popular actors right now in this world. I think his range with where he comes from and how he does his characters, I think that should be no issue at all. I mean, he plays Joel on Last of Us, and he does a fine job there. So
he plays Mando in
The Mandalorian. Yeah, so his just range is just insane. So I typically do a segment called Over Under, where I try and guess the IMDb score overall of a certain movie.
Okay.
This movie, right now, just to set for context, Superman currently sits at a 7.6 out of 10. Which to me is low, but I set the bar at 7.5. So thankfully I was able to get that one correctly. But this movie was tough to set a bar at, because if you compare it to the other Fantastic Fours, it's going to be easy over. It's going to be like 6.8, 6.9, which is, this movie is going to easily hit that.
Then I say you should put it at where Thunderbolts is at.
Thunderbolts? Okay. So
if I'm not mistaken, that's like 7.6 as well. 7.3.
Yeah, so Thunderbolts currently sits at 7.3, which again,
nah.
So I did a little tweaking with this line. So I'm assuming because Superman's 7.6, 7.3 is too low. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts 7.3 is wild to me. I don't understand that at all, but
agreed.
That's the thing about perspective. But I formulated this line around 7.8. So 7.8 out of 10 over under for you. What do you think the audience is going to think about Fantastic Four?
I was going to say it was going to be 7.8.
7.8, okay.
So I will go over just to be hopeful. But my original answer was going to be 7.8.
Okay.
I think audiences are going to love it. I really do. I just read some reviews from like the people that got early access to watch it, and they loved it.
Hey.
I mean, obviously there's some pooping on it, but there's
Right.
always going to be some like that. But like I said on Letterboxd, there's 17 5-star out of 5 stars right now.
On
And
Fantastic Four.
yeah,
Okay.
which is surprising to see. And then I also know that critics just got to see the movie in theaters, and they were talking highly of it. They talked highly of Vanessa Kirby mainly,
Hey, let's
being
go.
being Susan Storm,
Let's go.
and bringing that mother aspect to that character.
Right.
Herbie, I'm excited to see Herbie on the screen.
Yeah, the little robot.
Yep. And then seeing that little nod to the bear. Do you know the show The Bear?
Oh yeah. With
Yeah.
Eben.
Yeah.
Eben.
Where he tasted and he says it needs a little bit more garlic to bring some zing to it.
Yeah, so they're having fun with it.
Exactly. It's a lighthearted movie until Galactus gets there. I'm gonna feel like that's how that's gonna be.
Right. And so all right, so you're saying over 7.8 out of 10. Now, just for context, MCU movies that are 7.8 right now, Captain America Civil War. So,
Okay, never mind. I'm gonna put it under because I have Civil War as my top 3 Marvel movies ever.
okay, I it is definitely one of my top 3 as well. It's just such a great movie, but it's even to me 7.8 for Civil War seems criminally low. I was expecting 8.5, 8.6, but but again, we have like all of these different real critics and then like people just like kind of altering that score. So
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing as you because I was like, I don't think it's going to be as good as Civil War. However, I'm thinking like this is phase 6. Marvel has been letting us down, so people have hope. People are hyped about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to go up to past an 8, but I think over time it'll probably like
Go
slowly,
back down.
yeah, probably slowly.
Where,
go back
are you
down.
just saying peak of like in the movie theater, like what the score is gonna be, or after it comes out, after like 3 months of it being out?
I'll typically go the Sunday the week after it release. So if it releases this Thursday, I'll go look at it like following
Week.
week
Okay.
after.
I got you.
And that's not the most accurate reading of where a movie will land, but it's typically where it'll stay for a while.
All right, so the first half was with my friend Zack. The rest of this podcast is just going to be me by myself. So jumping into the cast, because we talked about the director and the writers, but the cast is Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, who Stranger Things. I hope I said this right because I don't know if I said it right earlier, but Eben Moss-Bachrach, Ralph Ineson, who Zack mentioned his voice being like very, very sinister and just deep and purposeful. So that's going to be interesting to see Galactus and hear him talk. Then we got Julia Gardner, Natasha Lyonne, Sarah Niles, Paul Walter Hauser, and John Malkovich. But don't get too excited if you're looking forward to seeing John Malkovich because there was news that his scene got cut from the film. So I don't know if that meant his only scene from the film or just like one of his best scenes, but for sure at least one scene got cut from the film from John Malkovich. So don't get too excited about that. But the plot of Fantastic Four, The First Steps, is forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond. The Fantastic Four must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald Silver Surfer. All right, so that's a pretty good plot. We know that we're going to have Galactus, we're going to have Silver Surfer. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you already know that, but this is word validation for you there in the actual plot. So, when reading this originally, I was like, enigmatic. It's such a good word, a word that I heard frequently when I used to work at Savi's Workshop in Disney World, because one of the lines of the Kembe is it's enigmatic in referring to the lightsaber. So looking up that word, the definition is difficult to interpret or understand, quote, mysterious. Yeah, so that's, speaking of the Silver Surfer, it's this mysterious character that we are wondering why they work with Galactus. If you read the comics, you know, but if you haven't read the comics, you're wondering, like, why are they working together? That is so enigmatic. But Silver Surfer, looking up Silver Surfer's job as Herald is to find planets teeming with enough energy to satiate Galactus' hunger. Because again, a lot of people just assume Galactus is bad, and maybe like his morals are quote unquote bad, but he is just a being that is trying to satiate his hunger so he can survive. So he is just surviving at this point. And Silver Surfer's job is to go from planet to planet and try and find a planet rich enough to be able to satiate his hunger and make sure that he doesn't die, because if he dies, the universe goes with him, because he apparently created the universe, which this is sounding like God. Maybe that's why they refer to him as God. So reading up a little bit more about Galactus, I saw this from @OreoFan14 on Reddit. Beyond good and evil and considered a force of nature, he makes sure the universe he created, 616, isn't expanding too much. And if a civilization just happens to be there, oh well. Populated worlds fill him up more than unpopulated worlds. So there it is right there. It's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily evil. He's just trying to eat. And unfortunately, of course, the planets with more hot dogs on them are going to fill him up more. So it's kind of a win-win for him. And then unfortunately for Earth, it's like, well, you can't do that because we live here. But that's just my thoughts on the plot of the movie. But I want to give you a couple things that you should know before you go into this movie. So this movie is going to be set in the 1960s in a retro-futuristic world. Also, if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, go watch it, but this will spoil Thunderbolts post-credit scene, so if you don't want to listen to this, just skip ahead a couple seconds. In the post-credit scene of Thunderbolts, we see the Fantastic Four spaceship coming into Earth's atmosphere. That just raises so many questions, because that was in the present day. They are set in 1960s, so are we going to have some time travel? There's theories that that's going to be Victor Von Doom in there. There's theories that maybe Galactus is in there, but that one seems to me to be less credible, because why would Galactus go in a ship unless that universe was being destroyed? But that would mean the Fantastic Four would be gone, right? I don't know. Just some interesting theories, and that was just a tidbit that if you hadn't seen it, now you know that at the end of Thunderbolts, there is a Fantastic Four cameo, but not the cameo, it's just a spaceship cameo. So that's a little fun, dare I say, fact, because we're jumping into 2 fun facts. Number 1, this is the first Fantastic Four movie in the MCU. Marvel Studios regained the film rights to Fantastic Four after Disney bought most of 20th Century Fox's films and TV assets, including franchises. So we are finally getting the first Marvel family into the MCU after so much has happened. So much has happened. Are they going to just come to our timeline and not even have to worry about Thanos? That'd be convenient. But then again, Galactus might be a little worse than Thanos. They both have the same concept of destroy, but I think Galactus is much stronger. But then again, I don't know, because if you have all the Infinity Stones, you can probably beat Galactus easily with that. That's an interesting thought. But I'm going to put a pin in that thought to get back to fun facts. Fun fact number 2, Marvel fans have been campaigning for years to have John Krasinski and Emily Blunt play Reed Richards and Susan Storm, as they are married in real life and already have a solid power couple chemistry on screen. Krasinski has reportedly wanted to play Mr. Fantastic after seeing a fan art of him and his wife as the characters, but in an interview with Blunt, she claimed that Marvel Studios had not contacted either of them about Fantastic Four. Even if they did, she is not a fan of superhero films. Oh, okay, so see, it wasn't a possibility anyways, because Emily Blunt didn't even want to do it. There you go. John Krasinski, I felt like he's like that cool kind of friend that's like, yeah, I'll play along, why not? And then Emily Blunt she doesn't want to do it. No worries. Let's see how Vanessa Kirby does, because I am excited to see her as Sue Storm. Fun fact number 3, fans wanted director Brad Bird to direct the film because of his incredible superhero films, which were focused on a superhero family based on the Fantastic Four. Yeah, Brad Bird was the director of Incredibles 1 and 2. He also directed Ratatouille, Iron Giant, and randomly Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol just doesn't fit in with those 4 movies I just mentioned. But we see that clearly Brad Bird has an eye for Disney films, and it would have been interesting to see his take. That would be cool if in the future we get 2 of the same films from 2 different directors and just see how they compare. Wouldn't that be an amazing experience to go watch Lord of the Rings by Peter Jackson and freaking Christopher Nolan? Imagine how those two movies would be so much greatness, but in different ways. Oh, that would be amazing to see if Christopher imagine. The next fun fact is about Pedro Pascal. He dropped out of Weapons to work on this movie. Weapons is a very, very hyped horror movie that's coming out next month, I believe. And it's interesting to know that he dropped out of that to play this movie, because this is obviously a potential movie to be #1 movie of the year. but also weapons. It can hit people in a way that, for instance, like Late Night with the Devil or some of those like lesser known horror movies really just hit you well. Like Barbarian was another really, really good movie. So that would be an interesting at the end of the year to see which film did better. Next fun fact, this movie is going to be the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and commences Phase 6 of the Marvel Multiverse Saga. So we're in Phase 6. 5 is no longer here. However, I will say 5 ended with a solid movie in Thunderbolts. I'm glad it ended with Thunderbolts, not Captain America, because Captain America wasn't bad, but Thunderbolts was so much better in my opinion. But let's get back. Adam Driver was linked for either Mr. Fantastic or Doctor Doom, but passed on the part, and Kylo Ren passed on MCU. And then final fun fact, the first trailer received 202 million online views within the first 24 hours. That's insane. 202 million. And I think a lot of people just wanted to have that little foot fetish with Galactus seeing his foot stomp in New York. No, that was pretty cool to see, not gonna lie. Because after seeing Galactus in the last movie, as even Zack was saying earlier, like we're actually getting a physical carbon, like a boom, 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 I'm here, Galactus, and it's not just going to be a cloud. So really excited to see how they do with that. And Ralph Ineson, I think they got a good voice for him because his voice is just, very deep. That's going to be the end of the fun facts. And that's going to take us to the comment section. At Alejandro Gonzalez 00, seeing the kids cheer on for Ben and him lifting up the car for their excitement while also having a big smile on his face just really means a lot to me, because I've read the comics where they were afraid of him crying when they see him or crying for their parents, and there's been times where Ben talks about suicide, and it really got me in tears. And seeing Ben be happy to make the kids happy, I'm just like, you got Ben Grimm / The Thing to a T, man. I can't wait for this film, and you can really see that he's come a long way. Yeah. So yeah, you're right in that. For the other Fantastic Four movies, everyone's always scared of the Thing because he doesn't look normal. He looks like abnormal. He looks like like alien, honestly. But that's more of that coming from a judge because we're fearful of him aspect, I believe. And then in this movie, we've embraced him because he apparently start off as in this movie as heroes, not because of their superpowers, but because of their family aesthetic, apparently. And I guess before the accident, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but that's a good comment by Alejandro Gonzalez. Next comment comes from at Spy Always Wins. Before people say they gender swapped the Silver Surfer, they did not. This is Norrin Radd's, the male Silver Surfer, love interest in the comics. And the reason they are using her is because they don't want to waste Norrin on a universe we will probably never see again. True. So they're going to use the love interest of the Silver Surfer. So she's probably not going to make it to the end of the movie if we're truly thinking about it. But maybe that brings in her love interest in the male Silver Surfer. There you go. At Chibi Prussia 5574 says, the subtitle should be, it can't be worse than the last one. Yeah, fan-fortastic. But it had some really solid scenes and a couple really decent moments, and then just the whole fight at the end just killed it for me, honestly. But I was hyped to see Michael B. Jordan in that movie, and then, yeah, we all know what happens there. At Thomas Newsom 6932 says, there is no way it's going to play out as anyone thinks. Bringing Galactus, the most powerful for a one-and-done film? No way. Yeah, I would think also that Galactus is just going to be put somewhere where he's not, or maybe this is what I think plays out, honestly. I think they're going to fight Galactus, they're going to lose, they're going to put up a valiant effort, and they're going to do everything they can to win, but they're not going to be able to, and they're going to have to escape, and then that's going to be the rocket we see at the end of Thunderbolts, because they had to leave their planet and come to our planet 616 because their planet is no more because it was eaten by Galactus. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think we will see Galactus in the future, but because he just got satiated with that Earth, I think he's going to be full for a little bit. So we might see him in more regards when we get closer to Doom, but I don't know. Maybe he's going to be new post-credit scene Thanos. But that's going to round out the comment section and bring us to over under. So as we were mentioning this a little bit before with Zack. I put the line at 7.8 out of 10, which I'm still going to go over. I think it's going to be like an 8.1 out of 10, which it blows my mind that Civil War is currently a 7.8, because I think that movie is like a 9. I don't know how it's a 7.8, but it is what it is. People rate things, see things differently. So again, I'm going over 7.8. I'm guessing that's going to be 8.1. Going over my record, my over under record 6-4-2 as Superman was a 7.5. I said over, and it is currently sitting as 7.6. So that's a dub right there. Good win. I thought it was going to be a landslide, but that one's barely winning. So these lines are actually getting pretty legit. I'm glad it's like not as easy as I thought it was going to be, because if it was too easy, it wouldn't be fun, you know? But that's going to be the end of the podcast. Hope you heard everything you wanted to hear about the Fantastic Four. My last thoughts on it: I think it's going to be a great movie. I think it has potential to be a massive flop because the hype for this movie is incredibly real. We talked about the $80 Galactus popcorn bucket, which I did consider purchasing until I found out that it was $80, because I cannot in my adult life make that decision to say, yes, I will buy that popcorn bucket to just have it sit somewhere for the rest of my time here on Earth. But it is cool to look out and the eyes light up. Just imagine walking in the theater with that bad boy. Like, yeah, I have Galactus's head. What's up? Oh, but they did have some cool popcorn buckets, which I want to applaud. I do want to applaud in this day and age. The creativity of popcorn buckets is out of this world, and I am here for it because I love creativity. And they had a Freaky Friday popcorn soda combo where the soda cup was the popcorn with a fake soda lid on top, and the popcorn bucket was a fake popcorn lid on top, was a soda cup. So I'm hyped up for all these movies that you would never expect to get a popcorn bucket coming out with these amazing concepts for popcorn buckets. So just applaud to all you creative designers out there. I love y'all. Y'all make the world go round. I hope you know that. But that's what I think. I think it's going to be a good movie. I'm going in expecting this one to beat Superman like 8.59, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came out like a 7.5, because I do have hope for this. And the bar is set pretty low from the past Fantastic Four movies, but I have to go back and watch them to remember, because I don't remember much about them. I do remember Jessica Alba as well, because I'm pretty sure every kid growing up had a crush on Jessica Alba as Sue Storm. And that's going to be all I got for you today. Thank you all for listening. God bless. Have a great night. And don't forget, hey, the movie is starting. Have a good night.